Salam and welcome to everyone joining us from all over the world today. My name is Falak Trambu, and a little bit about myself. I moved to Germany from Dubai to pursue my master's, and I'm now working as a product manager at Siemens, and I'm also the core team leader at Kashmir Care Foundation. It's been about 4 years since I moved to Germany, and today in our session, we are exploring education and employment opportunities in Germany, a topic that many students and professionals alike are quite curious about. But before we get started into the details of our session and then have this informative exchange over here, before that, I would like to talk about our next upcoming session at Kashmir Care Foundation, which is happening on the 26th of July on the topic Art and Culture. And I would like to hand over to Dr. Altaf Lal, who's the founder and president of Kashmir Care Foundation, to tell us a little bit more about this session. Altaf Sir.
Falak, thank you so much. And thank to the 39 plus people who have dialed in for today's session. This particular session is very important to me because I have my best friend as part of the panel, Manzoor Nowshari. Manzoor and I grew together. We did good things together. We did some crazy things together too. We're not going to mention what those crazy things were. But to those who have dialed in for the first time, Kashmir Care Foundation is your organization. You have on the screen Falak, you have Zuhur Saab, you have Mahi, Vijay from Hyderabad, and the beautiful panelists we have today. Watch this session and watch and hear what they say and what they say between the lines, and reach out to us at info@kashmircarefoundation.org अगर आपको और कुछ ज़रूरत चाहिए कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए. जो नेक्स्ट सेशन है उसके पैनलिस्ट आप देख रहे हैं. सदफ मुंशी इज फ्रॉम टेक्सास, मसूद साहब इज फ्रॉम कश्मीर, रैना साहब इज फ्रॉम दिल्ली. We're going to change the topic. The topic is going to be art and culture. Community कैसे build करती है अपने आप को किसी भी setting में. And we'll talk about Kashmiri art and Kashmiri culture. More on that at the tail end of the session, Falak. But before I pass it back to you, Falak, please look us up at www.kashmircarefoundation.org. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. When you join us, we become a bigger community, we become a better community, and tell us what we should do and what we should not do. With that, Falak, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Lal. And rightly said, we depend on the community that we have here to give us that input and feedback so we can do better, give you better sessions, get you more expert voices on different topics. And for today's session, just like I mentioned, we are joined by an esteemed set of panelists. We have Dr. Manzoor Nowshari, who works as a consultant to a number of IVF and reproductive technology labs across the world. He got his DART fellowship and moved to Germany in the 90s and has been here since. We also have Mr. Ruhullah Shah, who has pursued his master's in Germany and is currently working as a senior software engineer and has been living here for decades now. And finally, we have Dr. Iqbal Khan as well, who is an orthopedic and trauma surgeon with decades of experience in the Middle East. And he is now the first Kashmiri physician in Germany. Now, each one of them brings along abundant experience and a unique perspective. And over this session, our goal is to walk you through what the student journey is like, how to build a career in Germany, and of course, navigating the bureaucracy, the visas, and what it is like to live in Germany. But bottom line, I would say, is that in our discussion today, we want to keep it as honest, as practical, and want to make sure that you take away most useful and insightful discussions from here, so that if you're wanting to apply for opportunities in Germany tomorrow, you know exactly A, whom to get in touch with, and also B, you know exactly what to look for and how to do that. Now, before we get into a discussion, a few housekeeping rules. Number one, we'll be having a very, very free-flowing and casual conversations with our panelists here today. But we'd also like for this conversation to be very interactive. So to the audience, please post your questions in the Q&A tab that you see down below. And I also encourage the rest of the audience to please vote, put a thumbs up to questions that you resonate with and you would like the panelists to address. So at the end, we'll take the high prioritized questions to the panel, and we may not be able to cover all the questions in the live session, but we will, after the session, get back to you with the answers of those questions. So do not worry about that. Also, we'll have the recording of the session done and posted on our YouTube channel as well. So make sure to catch that up on our YouTube channel, which is the Kashmir Care Foundation. Now, without further ado, let's get finally started. So our first segment would be on the education opportunities. And for this, I would like to get started with Mr. Ruhullah Shah. So Ruhullah ji, you have done your master's from Technical University of Munich, which is one of the most prestigious universities in Germany. How did you choose your university, and what factors did you consider, or what factors would you tell the students should consider when they are applying for masters here?
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to all the participants, and thanks for joining. Before I start, and a short summary, I would like to say I had a few factors in the mind and I would bring most important ones of them to light here. For me, I wanted a university in Europe, preferably, or all over the world, but it came down to Germany, was that can offer top-notch computer science education and it's free. These were the two main criteria for me when I was looking for universities. And I was working at that time with Samsung Research Institute, and this was an intensive process of research. And I circled down on two universities in Germany. One was RWTH Aachen, and the other one was Technical University of Munich. I applied to both, and I got selected in Technical University of Munich for the master's program in computer science. And I would say that besides these two criteria, people can also keep certain things in mind. For example, what sort of research is going on in your field, regardless of what you're choosing. For example, if you're an engineer and you would like to pursue master's or PhD in engineering, what sort of research is going in that field? What are the future possibilities? How is the employability with your degree? So can you work when you're studying? So these are some important factors I would say that people can keep in mind when applying. And just as a gist, I shared what were the important ones for me when I was applying to Germany.
Thank you for that. And I think that's a very focused and nice approach to go with. But one interesting thing that you mentioned was about the free universities as well, right? So I would like to take that question to Manzoor Saab here. So I think even when I was doing my applications, one chaotic part that you go through is the confusion between the type of universities. You see so many different types of universities here. So if you could briefly tell us about what are the main differences between your public and private universities, between TU, like the technical universities, and the Fachhochschule, the University of Applied Sciences? What are the differences and what should one keep in mind?
Thank you, Manzoor Nowshari. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Adab. Actually, we have three types of universities in Germany. One is the classical university, one is the applied university, and the third one is arts university. The classical university is research oriented. That means you can start from graduation, post-graduation, master's, and you can do also doctorate in these universities. So they are innovative, very innovative and very subject-oriented universities. The next one is the applied university, where it's like a technical university. That is a part of it is normal university. It's a classical university, but it is more doing the techniques like engineering and all these things. In applied universities, it is more connected to the industry, but it also depends on that they are not basically allowed to go for PhD program because there's not much research being done in these universities. But it also varies from state to state because your education in Germany is state is giving them allowance or allow them the states whether they can allow people to go for PhD in that university or not. So in applied universities only up to master's degree. So anybody who wants to go for the practical side of it, more interested in the industries, then applied universities, one one who wants to go for PhD should choose classical universities, and the arts universities are for music. In music, it is different places, drawing, architect. So it is completely different from the other university, but they also uh, give the teach you to the graduation and post-graduation and even doctorate. But it all varies from state to state. It can be in one university where there is a applied university like Fox-Hochschule that you
Mhm.
can get even doctorate in that state. But in most of the states, it's not allowed that. It depends on the state. It decides whether they go for Fox-Hochschule PhD or not. But from students' point of view, it is not different. Education is very good in universities, in all the universities, whether it is applied university, arts university, or classical universities. The best thing is then you go for the search of your what you want to do. If you want to, for example, mechanical engineering, just go for the DRI Day web page. It gives you exactly which university offers, which Fachhochschule or which university offers this program. If you are happy with this, they give you detailed about the how much you have to pay, because public universities are free, but the private universities are not free. They have to pay for them. Some Fachhochschule are not. They have to pay this fees for studies. So you have to select on the basis of your what you want to do, which universities offer. If any offer that is a Fachschule or university, you are welcome to join that. There's no difference in the quality of education.
Thank you for that, Dr. Manzoor. I think that gives
Yeah.
a very, and you summarized it very well towards the end as to how each of these universities can, depending on the state, be applied for in particular specializations. And
Mm.
DAD is one source of truth, so to say, where one can get that complete information on which is the university in which state, what courses, the paid and non-paid factor. All of that is also clearly distinguishedly mentioned over there. Um, let's move on to Dr. Iqbal. When it comes to students or professionals from the medical field or health related fields, I think what I would like to know is how different is the pathway for them, especially with the language and licensing.
Yeah, I just read a question just two couple of minutes back. It said that what about MBBS in Germany? For aspiring international students who want to enter German medical schools, I think it's almost impossible to come for MBBS here because due to the limited number of seats and strict academic requirements. But if you are already an MBBS doctor and you want to pursue your further career here, then it gets easier. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it's a lengthy process. You will have to, first of all, the basic requirements in order to come and work in Germany is German language. You will have to have a very good proficiency, fluency in speaking German while you are speaking with the German patients here. And there are no English schools here which will require English medium or English language here. It's all, everything is in German. So first of all, you need to learn German language, be fluent in German language. And I would suggest if you want to work here as a German and as an international doctor and come to Germany, do your preparation in German language in your own country. Yeah, get a reputed institute, learn German language, be proficient in German language. And then there are steps. What you need to do is, first of all, you need to complete your B2 German level in your own country. Get your certificates translated into German language. And then further, send these documents after you complete your B2 level and have a reputed B2 certificate from Goethe or Lingua or Telk Institute. Send them to the local German authorities, medical authorities here in Germany. There are 5 medical authorities all over Germany. You can send your documents. That takes a lot of time to get a reply from them. It takes about 6 to 8 months. And after once you get a recognition of your medical studies, and then only you apply for visa, come here, repeat your B2 to C1 medical language and German language here, so that you'll be more fluent because you're living in the country and speaking their language. That makes you better fluent in German language rather than speaking and learning it in India. And then once you have done your these courses, apply for a medical language examination, which is held by the medical authorities. And once you have done that, then you get a 2 years of what you call that Berufserlaubnis probation to work here in Germany within 2 years. You can earn your money simultaneously, prepare for your next medical licensing examination. Once you're done with it, and then you get full medical license, that's called approbation. And with that approbation, you're good to go. Not only in Germany, you can work in Austria, you can work in Switzerland, and you have a full open market in all these countries. And jobs are not the jobs. It's not a problem with the jobs. There's a high demand for doctors here, so don't worry about that.
That's very, very interesting to know, and I like the way you laid out exactly step by step what are the requirements and what are the expectations. And one thing I'm curious about is, can a doctor work here while they're waiting for the entire licensing processes and the approvals?
I would, I would not appreciate that. But first of all, you'll not be having time to work, do extra part-time job, and you will not be. For me personally, I didn't get any allowance for that. I couldn't work here as a part-time, let's say anywhere in Germany. So being getting I got a D2 visa. That is, you are allowed to study here for German language and do nothing else. And that was a bit tricky. Yeah.
So it's not permitted.
One more point. But once you did your medical language test, medical examination, there are two parts. One is medical examination, medical licensing, medical language examination. Once you do that, you get 2 years of your probation. Within these 2 years of probation, you can work as a full-fledged doctor until you complete the next step, that is the final licensing examination. You can earn your money. That's not a problem.
That's good to know as well. And then listening to the rigorous process with the medical field, right? And then language is such a critical aspect there. I would like to know about language from even Ruhula ji here. Like I said, language, medical, of course, essential, but also when people think about moving to Germany, that's, I think, the roadblock that everyone has, right? That language is a huge barrier. Could you share with us what language requirements students should be aware of for both undergraduate and postgraduate studies? Let's say for IT related topics or subjects.
Before I proceed, should we take Dr. Altaf as a raised hand?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, Dr. Lal.
I generally do not intervene in these, but I think something that everyone who's listening should know. मंजूर साहब की बेगम जो हैं वो जर्मन्स को जर्मनी पढ़ाती हैं. And Germany has some of the toughest language and grammar, right? Not only Kathkitken Chakarin, grammar is very complicated. So it is doable. It's especially doable when you are a young student. So focus on getting these skills on Germany, ho, French, ho, Spanish, ho, Chinese, ho. Palak, back over to you.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that point up, Dr. Lal, because absolutely, Dr. Manzoor's wife is famous for her German here. I've heard her speak in German and even help even the young students sort of pick up the language once they've moved here as well. So I think it's not an impossible task. We should take inspiration from people amongst us to kind of learn and adapt into this new language. And with that, back to you, Ruhula ji. So could you tell us about the language requirements specifically from the IT field when it comes to studies?
Sure, Falakji. Thank God for me, before coming to Germany, this was not a requirement, the German language for master's program. If I were an undergraduate student, it would again be a requirement at TUM. that I know German, because the undergrad program at TUM for computer science needs German, but the master's program does not mandate so. Nonetheless, they did ask me for English language proficiency, for which I had to clear TOEFL. But I would be honest, I did not prepare for TOEFL and ended up clearing it very easily, because most of us have English education in Kashmir, in India, all over, so to say. So TOEFL is a piece of cake if you have an education as a child. What could be more challenging is a bit GRE, because its vocabulary was a bit more complicated. GRE had two sections. One was the quantitative and one was the language. The quantitative section is again a piece of cake. One doesn't probably need to prepare for it if you're an engineer. The language section might need some attention, especially for the vocabulary. But that was, again, I would say about 20 days of effort to clear GRE, TOEFL no effort, and German language was not a requirement. But nonetheless, I would like to be clear at this stage that when you come to Germany, please don't take that as an excuse to not learn German, because learning German is really essential to integrate into the daily life. It can be life-saving. It can be dangerous if you don't know German sometimes. And luckily for me, it was a paid program by the university where I didn't have to pay anything. And it was free for the Department of Maths, for the Department of Computer Science and Physics, 3 departments. And it was the first batch that had this pilot program called German Matters, provided by TUM. In that case, we were taken from level A1 till B1. And then we took our respective Goethe exams, and it was free of cost. But nonetheless, the university did provide us the means to learn language on campus while we're doing studies on the other side. So while coming to do masters, no, but when you're here, it would be good to learn German, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So if I understand that correctly, most of the master's courses, especially in the IT domain, do not necessarily require German. However, one thing everyone should be cautious about is, or not cautious, but be aware about, is the fact that a lot of universities do provide resources to study while they're pursuing their master's. So that would be, and it's free as well. So that's a good opportunity, and one shouldn't skip that. Right. Thanks for that, Laji. And now I'd like to move to Manzoor Saab here. So your story in Germany began with moving here with a fellowship from DAT. So what advice would you give to students who are looking to pursue research or PhD programs here?
Well, it depends on what they want to study. If they want to do graduation, they have to go for very hard German course that's called C1, sorry. But otherwise, you don't need, for example, in most of the English courses being offered, you don't need German in the beginning. But for living, it is very important. But for DART fellowship, there are a number of fellowships. DART is there, Erasmus is there. DART fellowship was those days for PhD program, not really for PhD program. It was an exchange program. That means you come to Germany with a DART fellowship, work here for some research project, and go back to India, and then you can come again for 3 months and submit your thesis or what. But it doesn't work practically. For German fellowship, what you need basically is you have to contact some professor or somebody who's working in that field. Write him a letter. Those days we used to go to the information department to know where some people are, or go to the libraries and look out for a person who was working in that field, and then write him letters and wait for months together before he would reply back. And then you have to prove that you have placement in Germany. That means they also look for such people because they don't have to pay from their own pocket. The German government pays them, but it has lot many rules. These are offered, these fellowships by German government, but selection goes through the Ministry of Education in India. So that is one way. The other way is there are some research institutes like Max Planck Institute. They have sometimes PhD positions where they advertise them, and then you have to apply. But chances are very little that you get those fellowships. But that's a way to come in Germany with their fellowship. And the third is Erasmus is very interesting fellowship for our people. You can apply directly to Erasmus fellowships, and they may be helpful in giving you placements as well. These are for masters as well as for PhD programs. And what exactly you need to do for that? It is all written in the this DID web page, how you apply, what you need, what papers you have to prove, what where you get the placement, how you get the placement. It is all informed in that. It goes on changing sometimes. This year it may be different. Next year it may be different. So you have to do basic work on that first to see the rules and regulation in the semester you're applying for. Thank you, Parth.
Thank you, Manzoor Sab. And now that we have like a clearer picture on what does the process of application look like for PhDs, and maybe I'll extend this question and give it to Rulda ji. In line with this discussion, could you tell us more about PhD in Germany? Like, what kind of opportunities can it lead to, say, jobs, academic-wise? What does the future look like for PhDs and researchers who move to Germany?
The future for PhDs in Germany is bright because I believe in German society, PhD is valued a lot. And just to take a very small digression, I mean, most of us who are here in Germany, you might have even seen in many forms here, they say, what's your title? And doctor is always there, and professor is always there, and there are multiple designations. So I think PhD in Germany as a culture that values specialization is valued quite a lot. And in my field, at least in my company where I work, Rodin Schwarz, a PhD is equivalent to 5 years of work experience. So that means if you are a student who did bachelor's, master's, PhD back to back and didn't have any industry experience, and then you apply and you say that you have completed a PhD successfully, and that means you have 5 years of work experience equivalent. Yeah. And for all the people that I know from the field of computer science who pursued PhD, they are either working at very good posts in Germany, or they are tightly integrated into creating startups because they are specialists in what they did. Especially, for example, I have some examples from communication networks. There were people who were doing PhD in communication networks, and they spinned off startups based on their thesis, what they were doing. And there's a lot of support provided by, for example, TUM. There's a place called Unternehmer TUM. If you're a PhD at TUM and you have a very good idea, you're doing a PhD thesis, you approach Unternehmer TUM. They provide you with all the platform, all the logistics you need to cover to spin off that startup. So while you're doing PhD, it has that entrepreneurial aspect with TUM that you can always have the chance to start your own company. And I would say, in terms of the quality of research, the visibility is pretty high. For example, the professors from the Department of Computer Science, they go out and do cutting edge work when it comes to computer science, databases, artificial intelligence, software engineering. So when you're doing a PhD thesis under a professor here, there's quite a good chance that a person gets this possibility to visit conferences where you see what's the cutting edge work, present cutting edge work, and that sort of exposure is pretty invaluable, and it's hard to get, I would say, otherwise. So I hope I have summarized that for the audience here. I mean, there's a lot to say, but there's so less time. Yeah.
I can completely understand, but I think still very well summarized. I would like to ask the last question of our education segment to Dr. Iqbal. We spoke a lot about German and the importance of the language. Considering you're in the medical field and you had to make sure that you know the language very well in advance for your practice as well, how difficult was it to learn German?
Yeah, for me, it was pretty difficult in the beginning. Yeah, and back in 2018, I did a fellowship in Hamburg for about 3 months, and that made me excited to come to Germany for further career and to live life here. I was really amazed how German doctors and German hospitals work here. That gave me a spark in order to learn German language. But I would honestly speak, it is in fact now also difficult for me to learn German. I'm in the process of learning it even now. But German language is difficult, but it's not impossible. Anyone can learn it, anyone can speak it, provided he has a goal, he has certain vision, what he wants to do in future, and it's achievable. There's nothing impossible about it. Yeah. And but there are hurdles in Germany. That is, I don't want to scare people out here. Coming to Germany is a bit difficult because you'll have to leave your country, your parents, your family back home, and then be all by yourself in this country. In the beginning, you get frustrated at times, yeah, because no one is there to talk to you. You're all by yourself. You have to do everything management, and you get sometimes astonishing or scaring letters from the German authorities that you have not done this, you have not done this, and get yourself registered there and here. Yeah, that scares you. You know, I think all of us we get letters per mail per week, every one of us. That scares you, but life here is good. Yeah, I've loved to live here, and well, the atmosphere, people are very good here, respecting. Even if you're from India, whatever, you're from Africa, there's nothing called, so-called racism which you see in the media and all that. They respect you. If you are good to them, they are good to you. Yeah. This is how
Thank you
you
for
learn
that.
how you learn German language here. You interact and then learn. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Dr. Khan. And I think as we move forward in our conversation as well, we'll talk more about the whole integration aspect that you spoke about. Of course, German not an easy language, but it's still, like you said, essential for integration within the region. Now, moving to our employment opportunities, I see a lot of questions about in our chat as well about job prospects, market, and so on. We know that as a country, Germany offers strong employment opportunities, but international graduates often face a unique set of challenges, so to say. And I would talk to Ruhula ji first about the non-medical opportunities. In the chats as well, I see a few questions around this. What are the in-demand sectors for international graduates? Again, I think maybe I'll keep this in terms of the technical field, since you are an expert in that sector. What would you say are the in-demand jobs or specializations? We hear so many buzzwords all around, right? Nowadays, AI and whatnot. So what is your honest take on this?
Master's Karanas, I was living in a hostel. We call it in German student in Wonheim, right? And in student in Wonheim, I had neighbors, civil engineer, mechanical engineer, computer science karan, communications engineer. I would say all of them are well placed. At least in student in Wonheim, if you collect a handful, it's about 50, 60 people you know who are your neighbors. And I think they're very well placed. And is the job market still so? I would say for mechanical, it might be going a bit down because of the electric cars incursion, especially from the Chinese market, I would say. Nonetheless, the market is still booming for technical opportunities. Be that civil engineering, be that computer science, robotics, they're all, computer science is still, at the peak, I would say. And there is one special aspect that, as I say, this is this working student job. When you do a working student job, most of the people that I knew, they got assimilated into full-time jobs in the companies they were working as students, because the company had the chance to see their work as students, and they had more confidence in hiring those people and assimilating them as full-time employees. So I think Germany mein jab aap aoge, if you are a full-time student and doing part-time work in a technical field, अगर आप mechanical engineer हो, for example, आप BMW में काम कर रहे हो, आप computer science student हो, अगर आप Microsoft में काम कर रहे हो, the chances are pretty high that you will get assimilated in the same company, because they know you, they have seen your work, they can evaluate it. And as a student, you would also like to show your best when you're working as a student. So I would say the job market is pretty bright, especially also the credentials. If you're doing it from a reputed university, that gives a lot of credibility in your application, that yes, I'm from TUM, I'm from RWTH, I'm from TU Darmstadt, I'm from KIT. And that gives a lot of value to the application, because the recruiters generally know what does it mean, the program, what does it mean.
Thank you for that, Rulaji. One question that I would like to take, because I'm seeing this quite frequently in our chats and Q&A here as well. And I just thought maybe for a moment we jump back into the education topic once again regarding bachelors. So a lot of questions about, okay, I've done my 10+2 and I'm interested to know about how to do my bachelor's in Germany, or what are the main things that I should keep in mind if I should do my bachelor's in Germany. And third, frequently asked question is also about, is it good to do your bachelor's in Germany, or would it be a better option to do bachelor's in India and then move to Germany for masters? I would like to take Rulaji, maybe your insight, since you've done your masters here as well. What do you think, or what would your advice be for students?
It's a very subjective question. There is no objective answer to it, in my opinion. But I would say if you are ready to learn German and go through the Studienkolleg course after 10+2, where you come to Germany and you do, most of the people go through the Studienkolleg course, where they do some German education again, and they do some subjects that people normally would study here as a part of the Abitur in Germany, and then they have to take an exam to go to the public university. If you're ready to go through that process, and if you're ready to invest in German language as early as 16 and 17, then doing bachelor's in Germany, I would say, is a very valuable option. If you're doing BTech in India or bachelor's in India from a good university, or if you have bachelor's in India with some work experience, that should suffice as well. But again, it's very situation specific. Depends on the situation of the individual, I would say.
And mostly, like you mentioned, for bachelors, the language requirement is even more important there. There would be not much work around in terms of
Yes,
options.
for all the undergrad courses at home in computer science.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, I didn't.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry, I think the internet connection is a bit weak. Do you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so all the undergrad courses at TUM in computer science were in German. So all the basic courses, computer architecture, database systems that you study in the undergrad for computer science, they were in German. Makes sense also. But people who are coming from outside and would like to have a refresher of those courses, you're on your own. If you know the German language, go attend the course. Nobody will stop you. And this is again something that people need to consider. In my experience, even the robotics and all the mathematics, they were all done in German. There were a handful of English courses, but they're not many. Most of the education of undergrad at TUM was in German.
So if you're up for the challenge and are dedicated enough to learn the language from a very, very young age, then bachelor's is a more easier option to kind of enter into the region. Else, I think more practical and easier way would also be masters, because then you have more options for English courses as well. Now a question to Dr. Khan here. So again, coming to the medical field. So for foreign doctors, can they directly apply for the medical specialization in Germany from India or from wherever they are?
There is no such thing as applying for medical specialization here, because German does not provide any kind of specialization courses for outsiders. You need to, in order to do that, the thing is, in order to work here as a doctor, you need to have a license from the medical authority here that you are eligible to work in Germany. And touching a patient, you need to have that license in front of you. If you don't have that license, you cannot touch a patient, you cannot intervene, you cannot do anything from the medical practices in Germany. So in order to apply for specialization, you need to finish all these steps, have a German medical license, then only you can pursue for the specialization of your choice. There are no limits here. Anyone can do it, and whatever you want to do, there is German has it everything in here. So first of all, you need to get.
Yes, sorry, please continue, guys.
Yeah, so I would suggest that you first do a licensing exam. Yeah, once you are done with that, then you can of your anything, any specialization, subspecialization of your choice in Germany. And there is no limit here in Germany. You can whatever you want to. You want to go into radiology, cardiosurgeries, orthopedics, medicine, endocrinology. You can do anything provided you have that basic ingredient with you. Yeah, that is a medical license. Yeah.
That's good to know. And just to follow up on that, how long does these typical specialization programs last, and is it paid?
Yeah, they are paid. Once you have a medical licensing, medical license here in Germany, and you have a job. Job is not a problem. There's a high demand of doctors from all over the world here. Once you are working here, you work and you start your specialization along with your work. You'll be paid. You're working also, and you full-time work, and you can pursue your career for specialization where in whichever faculty you want. So it takes for medicine field, it takes about 5 years to complete your Facharzt. That is the master's MD in India. And for surgical field, you need 6 years. That is also Facharzt in chirurgy. That is that is in surgical field. So these are 5 years and 6 years whichever surgical field you want to opt for, or whichever medical field you want to opt for. Yeah.
Thank
And
you
you
for
get
that.
paid, and you get salaries, and you get extra bonuses, you get everything. And it's not bad.
Perfect. That's good to know. Manzoor Saab, I would like to ask you this question. So, when students or professionals move to Germany, how does the process work for their spouses or their partners who come on the dependent visa? Because a lot of times, some countries have the restrictions that spouses or dependents cannot work if they're accompanying, say, let's say, a student or a worker who's newly moved to the country. What does that situation look like in Germany for dependents?
Dependents, if you are a student and you have come on a student visa where you are not earning money, it will be difficult to get visa for your spouse on the basis of citizenship. But if you are an employee, it is very easy. It doesn't take much time to apply for visa and get the visa for your family, for your kids, as well as if the kids are up to the age of 13 years. After 13 years, they are adults. They are for practically for German rules, they are adults. So they don't allow them to come on the with parents. So they should be aged 13 and they should have proof of income or a job. Then they can come. Over to you. Well,
Thank you, Manzoor Saab. I think one interesting questions or a repeated question that I'm seeing in the chat here also is regarding job opportunities in Germany, right? So how to find job opportunities. So maybe this question, Ruhulaji, to you. You mentioned earlier you did several work student roles while you were studying, which is like the part-time jobs that are allowed as per certain norms, limited hours while you're pursuing your studies. You also mentioned about internships here. Do you have any tips on how to network or find job opportunities in Germany? That's one part of my question. And second part of the question, I'll reiterate it after you've, in case you've missed it as well, but I'll just ask it now is it possible for people sitting in India or outside Germany to land a job in Germany as well?
Yeah, I would start with the second part because it's easier to answer. I saw it in the chat as well. There's a person called Zaid Rafiq. He said they did their masters in outside Germany and looking for network engineering jobs. I think that the German government before had this job seeker visa, and now they changed it with some more different semantics called Chancenkarte that they call the chance card if you translate one to one in English. And I think for my domain, there's a huge demand. So if you've done your master's outside, but if you're proficient and you have skills and you're willing to take that, you're willing to apply for this Chancenkarte visa and come here and do the job search here in Germany. And the good part is while you're doing Chancen, when you have this Chancenkarte, you can work part-time to cover your costs. So yes, it is possible. And for the first question, when you're as a student here, now coming back to the first part of the question, how do you get into job and how do you network? So very easy would be, first of all, if you're at a good university, they on and off have these recruiting events where multiple companies come to the on-site. It's not like the on-campus placement that happens in India. No. So it's like they will open their booths. You go to those booths and they will tell you what they are doing and what kind of projects they're hiring for. And in between those conversations, they will throw some technical questions at you to see. They will be masked. It will be a very informal conversation, and those will be masked, and they will gauge your proficiency from that conversation. And if you get the interest, they will try to give you a card or get your contact details. And what happened with me was, during these conversations, a couple of recruiters reached out because they got my details from these people who were at the booth for the company at the university event. And the second pathway is that when you're a student and you're working in a company, doing an internship or working as a student, you can form a very good network with your team, and you can tell your team openly that after completing your studies, you're interested in working with them. And if there's a position, and if they have a need to hire another resource, full-time resource, they will be pretty happy to consider you in a role if you have performed well. So if you have performed well and they know that you can deliver as a full-time employee, it's easy to get assimilated in that way as a full-time student. Other way is, I think, referrals. If you have people who are working in companies and you know them, they can get you a referral. That initial referral can lead you to the first interview, but from there, then you'll have to show your skill set, basically, if you are skilled enough to take that job. So I would say these, as a summary, I would say these are the ways that I know of.
Thank you for that, Rulaji. I think like we are talking about a lot about the opportunities that are here, and what one more aspect I want to touch upon is the comparison between working in Germany and working elsewhere. And Manzoor Saab, you've had a vast experience in working all across the globe, I would say, from Canada and within EU and Middle East as well. So from your perspective, what are the key pros and cons of working in Germany compared to other countries like your UK, Canada? What would your experience say?
Well, if you have studied here, you have a master's or PhD here, it is wonderful to work here. It is, in comparison to Austria, in comparison to other places, it is a wonderful place. You have the chances to go higher, make your career in your field. So for example, in Dubai, I have worked in Dubai for 5 years. You are employee. In your few people you are for them a doctor, but for them others you are a laborer, especially if your color is not white. So that makes a difference. You have all the rights here. You can do anything you want, and you can progress a lot. But the drawback is that you have to have the language. Language is one of the most important factors, not necessarily in IT branch, but in other branches, you have to have this language. So you can also, only after working for 2 years, you get an unbefristete Arbeitserlaubnis. That's unlimited visa, just after 2 years. So you can live with that visa, and after 5 years, you can apply for your, it has not been reduced, you can get citizenship. So you have all the rights as a citizen of Germany, as well as the rights, as well as the responsibilities. You are a German citizen. You will not be discriminated. So these are the things, whereas it's not always true in other countries, especially Middle East or even in Austria. I was working there for 5 years again. Also, there was a discrimination. So in comparison, Germany is very, very nice place to work in.
Thank you for that honest reply, Manzoor Saab. I really appreciate that. When we talk about employment, like we always consider opportunities for coming and finding a job. But let's even touch upon self-employment. What if someone wants to start something of their own in Germany? In our previous conversation, Rulaji, you mentioned that you have some friends here who have started companies in Germany. So if I had to ask you, can an expat start their own business in Germany? And also, how can people from other countries collaborate to have a successful startup in Germany?
Absolutely. Expats can and have started many businesses in Germany, technical, non-technical. I'm talking about the technical ones. The most common pathway that I saw, there were two pathways that I saw. One was, as I said, in my university, there's something called as Unternehmertum. Unternehmertum is an incubator. That means if you have a good idea, you approach Unternehmertum with a prototype, maybe. It can be a low fidelity prototype. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged prototype with all the features of your idea. And then they will evaluate and you can get investment and you can start your company. Depending on the investment, you can hire other people or maybe just have a runway for yourself and maybe a couple of other people to flesh out some features of the product to get into another round of funding. That's how my friends did it. They had 3 rounds of funding, I would say, but they did it in stages. In first stage, they received enough amount of funding for 2 people or 3 people to work together. In the next round of funding, they could expand to 10 people. And in the third round of funding, they could go up even to 50 or 100 people. And while they were doing that, they didn't only limit themselves to hiring people in Germany. They hired people from India, they hired people from Pakistan, they hired people from different parts of the world, freelancers, I would say. And in that case, there came this aspect of collaboration that people are living in India and a startup in Germany is offloading the work to those people. That can be tricky depending on who you are collaborating with, and you are a startup. You don't want to fail. You don't want to disappoint yourself and your investors. But nonetheless, such things do exist. And then comes the question of ownership. For example, if there's a person living in India and they would like to have some sort of stake in the German company, again, first then they need to invest. So if they're investing some sort of stake, they become as stakeholders. They do not become employees anymore, but they are stakeholders. Again, how then the stakeholder pays taxes? Where do they pay taxes? That's a different story altogether. And I think that can take a dedicated session of its own. But what I mean to convey is that such possibilities do exist. You can start your company. You can collaborate with people within Germany, without outside of Germany. You can have employees in Germany, outside Germany. You can have stakeholders in Germany, outside Germany.
Thank you for that, Ruhula ji. And while we're talking about students and professionals who move abroad, and I think it's always a huge leap that you have to take, right? When you make up your mind, okay, I'm going to move somewhere. And with the clarity that we've provided so far, or with the questions that we have answered so far, a lot of people take that whole leap of faith and kind of go on this journey. And the journey is, of course, exciting, but also it has a lot of uncertainties. And like I said in the start of our session, I said we'll keep this conversation very honest, very transparent. So I'll ask all the panelists this question. From your experiences and from what you have observed, having lived in Germany for such a long time now, why or why not should someone consider moving to Germany? Dr. Iqbal Khan, I'll start with you with this question. Why or why not should someone move to Germany?
Yeah, why? I will answer first the why not one. Why not? Because if you're scared of leaving your home, if you're scared of leaving your parents, you don't want to be homesick, then stay at home. Otherwise, if you're not scared, if you have a particular goal in your life, you are confident that you can do it, then please go ahead. There is no limit here in Germany, and you can live an exciting life here. Life is good, work atmosphere is good, ethics, patient care, in terms of medicine, it's excellent. You every day you learn something new, and you get very well paid, and plus you have a future here for your children, not only for you, for your children. Citizenship wise, you get it in 3 to 5 years. I know a couple of doctors who are here since last 3 plus years. They're already with a German passport, which is, well, considered one of the highest passports in the world. Yeah, that way you come here, please. And if you're scared, then stay home. That's all.
That's a good, straightforward, just like we say, the German way of answering. I like that. Manzoor Saab, I'll ask you the same question. Why or why not should someone move to
Well,
Germany?
you have the responsibilities, and obviously you have all the responsibilities, and you have all the facilities here. That is one thing. You have got, if you are working, you have got a handsome salary. But the dark part of the being in Germany is first the language. You have to learn it. Without Germany, you cannot do anything. Your life is miserable. And secondly, you have to take care whether you are ready to sacrifice your parents for that. In Kashmir nowadays, you have seen that most of the people, young people, are going outside the country, and the parents are living alone. So if you are ready to face that, or you have any possibility to take care of that situation, it's a wonderful place. Over to you, Farooq.
Thank you, Manzoor Saab. Before I ask the same question, Ruhula ji, to you, I see Mahi, your hand is up. Yes, please.
No, thank you so much. Congratulations. What a wonderful session this was. I wanted to underline the fact that most of us, like Falak included, are kind of a bit of polyglots. We've grown up in different parts of India and learned a bunch of languages. And Germany happens to be an Indo-Germanic language. So I see a lot of questions around language, and I see, based on one's ability to assimilate and kind of navigate vocabulary, German as a language can be daunting. But I wanted to ask you guys, as an encouraging note, even though it's a tough language, it is doable because you guys have done such a fantastic job of it. I want to ask you, is it possible that someone can start early on, say 8th, 9th, 10th grade, get some basic German in, even if it's like outside of their school curriculum through Duolingo or going to a library, and then actually go for an undergrad program to Germany and thrive? What would that give a leg up? And two, is it even possible? Should that even be a thought process in people's minds? Because there are kids who are in late middle school, high school here in the audience, and just want to know if we should completely discourage them and say, come here after masters, or would it be prudent to, play with the language, because languages are learned across the world, not just in immersion programs. So just wanted to get your take on that.
That's a good point, Mahi, and I'll direct the question to the panelists as well. But before that, I'll just add my 2 cents on it as well. I think I completely echo with what Ruhula ji mentioned when we spoke about the bachelor's topic, right? If you have the determination to start young, if you have the motivation to learn the language, because like you rightly mentioned, it's not easy to learn a new language, irrespective of whichever language it is, especially as adults. I think it's even more difficult because your brain is already structured in a certain way, and you end up questioning every grammatic rule that exists. But as a young adult, your brain is like a sponge, so you tend to absorb things much faster. So from my perspective, I would say, young students, if you have the determination, if you have that vision and goal saying that, okay, I want to move and do my bachelor's in Germany, start as early as possible. You want to start at 10, 12, 15 years old, as long as you feel that you are able to put dedicated hours and not compromise on your existing studies as well at the end of the day. That's also equally important. And then, of course, Germany is a very beautiful destination to move to in terms of living here, and also the opportunities that come ahead. Manzoor Saab has repeatedly mentioned about how important German is. And I think the reason he also stresses on this point is that while your work or work life may not require German as a essential to have, but without that you will still face some of the other challenges, if not in your day-to-day, maybe if not while you go out buying groceries, but maybe someday when you have a medical emergency, or maybe when someday you want to call up to the Ausländerbehörde for some of your maybe visa processes or whatnot. So the importance of German should not be lost in any aspect. And if you have the determination and the will, then you definitely should consider learning it young and then moving here for bachelor's. Again, opens a lot of doors. But I would add, Manzoor Saab, I would like to take a couple of sentences from you as well regarding your thoughts on moving to Germany to pursue bachelor's and to learn the language at an early age.
Yes, there's a possibility that you can do that, but you have to learn Germany online. There are courses offered online. There are schools in India like Max Muller-Bauer, Goethe Institute. In India, there is one boy recently, he contacted me, he has completed his 10th class. Now he wants to come to Germany. So I have advised him to go for this course in Max Muller-Bauer. And once he does B2 up to B2, it is not sufficient for his studies here as a graduate, because he has to do C1, is a higher German course. So he can come here for maybe 3-4 months he can do for the language courses here. It is paid. He has to pay. He has to, for his sustenance, he has to arrange a room, insurance, and all these things. So financially, it may be challenging, but it is possible, and it is worth. If one does a graduation here, his doors are open for every, for citizenship, for higher education, for employment. It's a very good thing. Sure.
Thank you for that, Manzoor Saab. Going back to the questions that we were asking all panelists, and I definitely did not miss you out, Rohulaji. So over to you with that question. Why or why not should someone consider moving to Germany?
Yeah, just to sprinkle my two bits about the German language, I would say as a person who spoke Kashmiri, a bit of Urdu. I don't consider myself proficient in Urdu and English. I would say language learning in general is the best gym you can send your brain to. It's the best gym for the brain. If you want to come to Germany or you don't want to come to Germany, you want to go to France, learning any language, I would say it would make you think a lot about other languages when you do it seriously. In my journey of language learning, I discovered that language is a difference between insan and haywan. They do have languages, bees have languages, gorillas have languages, but to language itself, as to put in Noam Chomsky's words, the leading linguist alive in America, language is so human, and one should study language. There's beauty in every language. So, and German language has its own manifestations of that beauty of human languages, I would say. Coming back to the question, why to Germany and why not to Germany? I would say why, because from an engineering perspective, I would say Germany has a very strong culture of engineering. You may or may not like it, but there's something to learn from it as an engineer, I would say. After I came to Germany, and if I compare myself to the engineer who went to Korea, who was in Bangalore, there's a difference. And I have to attribute that to the German engineering culture that I picked up from. Besides the engineering, there's a lot to learn from the German culture as well, I would say. You will have some sorts of introspections and introspect on your own values as well. You want to adopt them or not adopt them, that's your own choice. But I would say it gives you a chance to learn another culture, at least be aware about it. And there are great job opportunities. There's great nature. Do you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I think Ruhulaji is facing some technical issues, but he has that.
There are good job opportunities, and
I think we lost you there for a minute, Ruhulaji. Your internet was sort of acting up. So
what was the last thing? What was the last thing you guys heard?
Opportunities is what I heard.
There are a lot of job opportunities, I would say. And why not? I would just have one line to say as a software engineer, that sometimes as a software engineer, you would see that Germans build software like ours, especially in the big companies. And that might not feel so agile, that might not feel so dynamic, and that can bog down a software engineer. But nonetheless, to my own point, I would say there are chances of startups. There are chances for working with American companies here. So just keep it in mind. It's not to shoo you away, but just to make you aware about it from my own subjective experience.
And like we had promised, an honest perspective on everything. And I think I like the honesty that each one of us is bringing to the table. Now moving into our visa and integration segment, I see a lot of questions on that aspect as well, where people are saying, okay, how is it living in Germany? What about the community around, the food, the student Wohnheims? All of these questions are here. So we'll address this segment with a few questions between us as well. So talking about visas, we did speak about the chance cut earlier, about how people can look for employment, or who are outside wanting to come here for employment, they can come here for working. In terms of language, we had quite a lot of discussion about this particular point. And I think, Manzoor Saab, you recommended a school that someone can study the language at. I think, Dr. Iqbal, I'll ask you this question as well. From your experiences, are there any language schools that you recommend as well for preparation of the language?
Yeah, if you want to study in India and pursue a language, I think it's best to go with Goethe, Turk, or Lingua. Goethe is established in India. You have no problem with it, but Turk and and Lingua, you can do it online as well. Going to some, sorry to say, cheap schools or cheap language institutes, it's not worth. Don't waste your time. Go for a good one and learn the language from Germans. I think that's the best way to go with it. Yeah, over to you.
That, thank you for that, Iqbal Sab. And I'm mentioning this in our chat here as well, so that you all can make a note of these recommendations that we have. In addition to this, we've also put together, because I see some questions here in terms of scholarship opportunities, funding opportunities. We have put together a Google Sheet which briefly summarizes which are the places one can look for opportunities in terms of funding and scholarships. If someone from our core team, maybe Zuhur Sab, you have access to the resources which we have now put on our website, we'll provide the link down here. So feel free to visit that and get that whole download of what are these places where you can look for scholarships, which fields are these scholarships offered in, and what do these scholarships essentially cover. Now, Manzoor Sab, over to you with in terms of visas, right? So we spoke about some of the visas that are already provided here. Studying or working, are these essentially the only two types of visas that one can come here on? Studying, working, and job seeking, are these three the only types of visas one can come here for?
No, there is one more. That is, for example, if you don't have a place in a university or you have not got any admission, you can apply for a visa that's called as finding a university for studies. You can apply for that visa also. It is given for 9 months. So you can earn that visa, but you have to show you have financially you're in a position to come over and stay here. You don't have any right to work during that period, but you can find out a university where you can do that. Second is the studies visa. If you have an offer from any university, you can apply simply for a student visa. CIVEX. CIVEX is aim is the studies. So you get these two visas. Rest is the family visa. That's also when your family is there and you have job or a job offer from any employer. So these are the visas you can apply for. Thank you.
Thank you, Manzoor Sab. So you mentioned even about the university searching sort of a visa. Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Iqbal, I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Iqbal.
I think we have not touched upon the finances, which is very important for the parents back in India, Kashmir, everywhere. You have to be, you have to be ready to shun at least a year, 10 to 12,000 euros, which you need to put in a block account. Yeah. Without that, you cannot come over to Germany and you will not get a visa. So you have to have a good mind that you need to save this much of amount every year so that you can send your child or can come over here, that you have this amount of money to live in Germany, because the costs in Germany are pretty high. So you have to consider that as well, not only the German language.
That's a good point, and then maybe a good segue for us to address the question. And Dr. Iqbal, maybe I'll ask this question to you itself. What do the overall living expenses, and I see this question in our chat as well, what do the overall living expenses look like in Germany, and what are the affordable cities for international students to move to?
For me, that's the difficult. I cannot say about the other cities. I have been living in the beginning in Hanover, and it's quite, I think German overall has the same rate considering the expense and all that. Being living in south of Germany, it's a little bit expensive also as living in north of Germany. A minimum of 1,000 to 200 euros will be sufficient for a month for one person to live in Germany, and that has to be thought about. Yeah.
I will ask another question to Dr. Mr. Ruhla, you as well. You stay in Munich, which is one of the most expensive cities to live in Germany, and more than expensive cities, one of the most difficult places to find a housing in Germany. And one of the problems a lot of students faces, they might have their admissions, they might have their visas, but the main challenge, because the first thing they need to do once they move to Germany is have their city registration, which is go to an authority and register that, hey, my name is Falak, I've got an admission in so and so college, and I will be staying at this, and this is my address. So that's the city registration we speak about. And housing in itself is quite a daunting topic. How or what would you say is a good way for international students who are not in Germany yet? How should they find houses while they are living abroad?
My journey has been pretty unique in this case. I would say, Alhamdulillah, I was one of the few persons who had a housing before he got the visa. And there was a reason for that. The reason for that was housing in the case that I had a student in Monheim, and the monthly cost for student in Monheim in 2016 was 330 euros. And the reason for that was I applied for summer semester 2015. I got the acceptance for summer semester 2015, but I shifted it to winter semester 2015, October, because that gave me a chance to look for housing more. So I got acceptance, I shifted it. Also because of professional reasons, I had a work trip to Korea. I could not delay that. I really wanted to do that. But that gave me a 9 months buffer to look for housing with the student and WEAC mentioned. Again, this is variable. At that time, it was 330. Probably it's 500 now. I don't know the exact cost now. But I would say with a ray of hope that there are many jugards in this area. For example, when I was in Munich, my friend came in, who was a very good friend of mine, and at my first workplace, he also came for masters. He didn't have a room. I told him, it was about 3 months of effort, and he in city registration, he put it under care of Ruhullah Shah. That means he already has somewhere to get his letters addressed to. And then he got his room in after 3 months. And this is something that people often end up doing now because there's more and more shortage. You just go and even there are many forums now, there are many Facebook groups. You can say, hey, I am a student who got admitted for winter semester and I have not found a room yet. Is somebody willing to sublet their room? There's this process of sublets, and many people are willing to do sublets. Besides sublets, there is something called as finding cheap dorms that are private dorms. You have to look, laziness is no option when you're coming to Germany. You have to be pretty prudent with your searches. You need to know how to search, how to access internet for these cases, how to reach out to the right people, how to register yourself to the right Facebook groups, what are the right people to talk to. Again, as I said, mine was a lucky instance. If you can form such a strategy, if you can get admission in summer semester, delay it to the winter semester, get yourself a housing, and you're set. But that was a lot of hard work, I would say.
And I think to add on to that, and I completely agree, I think anyone who's moving to Germany, housing becomes a very serious topic for them. And just to add on to that, while there are a lot of Facebook groups and communities which provide this help, one should always be a little cautious, because there'll always be a certain element of bad apples out there who try to scam potential people who want to move here. I've heard of a lot of stories where people move here, they've paid a deposit to some person assuming that they have a housing, but once they're here, unfortunately, that's not a real case, and it was just a scam. So, but there's always ways to be cautious. The only thing is that make sure if you know someone who is in Germany, ask them to do a viewing on your behalf. That's just so that you know for sure that yes, this house exists, yes, this person is real, and then exchange money. And until then, be cautious about doing any transfers as such. Ruhula ji, I see your hand is up.
Sorry, to add to the cost aspect. I didn't possess the skill of cooking when I came to Germany, and I suffered for the first semester. I had to live off donors and what my roommate was cooking. And I would say for especially men from our culture who don't know how to cook, learn cooking if you want to come to Germany and lower your costs. It helps to lower the costs a lot and live a good quality of life. I am a very good cook now, I would say.
Good, that experience is a good teacher. That's a good takeaway, and yeah, that's definitely important. Language and cooking, learn these before you plan to come to Germany. It'll be of help. Talking about cultural adjustments in Germany, Manzoor Sahab, I'll ask you this question: what are the biggest cultural adjustments? Because you are a strong, I would say, like a cornerstone for the Kashmiri community in Germany. You meet a lot of new students who have come here, not been very successful with their plans, and then moved back as well, and several others who have moved here and then established themselves, brought their families in, and so on. So from your experiences and your conversations with them, what do you think is the biggest cultural adjustment the new students face when they arrive in Germany?
Well, it is it's called the bureaucracy. That is one of the difficult processes one has to learn. Going to anywhere, you have to any office or to go unmeldung and all these things, it becomes very difficult if you don't know the language, especially if you don't know the language. So that is one of the things one has to take care of it. And some people I have experienced it that lot when Indians when we came here in a group in 87, 1987, some people left after 6 months. They could not eat. They could not find some reasonable food. Now it has changed a lot. One, we have almost all the restaurants and donor shops in some places where it is all German culture, it may be difficult to survive. So you have to have your own food and all these things. The rest is in a couple of months one can just feel very, very comfortable in Germany. Over to you, Park.
Thank you for that, Manzoor Sab. One more topic that I see a question about in our chats as well is regarding the health insurance. So when one moves here, one another criteria for them is to make sure that they have health insurance in place. Iqbal Sab, maybe I'll ask this question to you. Could you shed some light on what is the criteria of health insurance and what are the costs around health insurance as well?
Yeah, in order to get a visa for Germany, you need to have a health insurance prior to that. Before applying for a German visa. If you don't have a German visa, a German health insurance, you'll not get a visa. So that's a basic requirement in order to come over to Germany. In Germany, everyone must have a health insurance in the country. Without health insurance, life will be miserable. You will not be treated. You'll be thrown out of the hospitals if you're sick. That's it's not that costly in the beginning. When once you are studying or pursuing for a German language, you're living in Germany. It's not difficult. It's not expensive. You can have, there are lots of insurance companies which provide healthcare, complete healthcare for about 60 to 80 euros a month, which is not too much. But once you're landing into your job, your employer provides you health insurance, and from your basic salary, you get they deduct part of that amount from your salary. So it's like a win-win situation, and you are fully covered, and your family is fully covered with that health insurance. And from my experience, I pay about 300 to 500 euros a month from my salary, which goes to the health insurance, and the 50% of that is being provided by the my employer. So I'm fully covered with health insurance, and it's very having health insurance in Germany. It's very important. Without health insurance, life is hell. Yeah, back to you.
And I think it's a mandate, right, to have the
Yeah,
insurance in place before you
yeah.
move in. And of course,
Some
even
people
with
skip that. Some
Mm,
people skip that, but once they get ill, there's no way to go, nowhere to go. And it's very difficult that time.
true. Um, Maybe another question for all the panelists that we have here would be, what advice would you give students or young professionals who are moving to Germany? I'll start with you, Manzoor Sab. What would your advice be for students or young professionals who are moving here?
Find out the best place where you have to study. Just take care of it that you know what you are going to face. For example, the room arrangement, language, university, uh, which city you are going to land in. Because some cities are very costly, like in Munich, they may not find a room. But in case of Dessau, for example, it is very easy to find a room. So these are the criteria one has to take into consideration while moving to Germany, and then he has to leave or she has to leave her family in Kashmir, and it may come to no way to go back. You have to stay in Germany. So think about it in advance. And the language is also the very, very important thing. One has to go for it. Be ready for that. Thank you.
Ruulaji, what would your advice be?
I would say before when you have if you accepted to if you have been accepted to university or you have a job offer and you know you're coming to Germany, I would say take a good amount of time to research online how does the daily life look like in your city that you're going to. From those, what are the daily workflows, for example, that you have covered? For example, supermarket kit kanchugason. It might be very trivial details, but they help. Health insurance student, public name or private name. Or would it be like, how long am I staying in Germany? What am I going to accomplish? Am I going to stay after masters or I will shift to the States after masters? मैं PhD करना है कि नहीं करना है? As long as much as buffer you give yourself to imagine what you want to do and how your daily life would look like, I would see that questions would automatically come up to your mind, and throw them to ChatGPT, throw them to KCF, throw them to Google, and you will get many responses back, and you will have a lot of information, and that will help you to get adjust faster. And I would say when you know that you're coming to Germany, start learning the language as soon as possible, and try to master it as soon as you can. Mastering it is very hard, I would say, any language, but to have a reasonable amount of proficiency that it's hard to figure out if you're a native speaker or not. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Ruulaji. And Iqbal Sahab, what is your advice?
Yeah, I would say, life is not a bed of roses. We have difficulties everywhere, in every part of the world. I have lived in a couple of countries more, and life was difficult as well in the beginning and in the midterms and at the end. So Germany is also difficult to live. You get lots of shocks sometimes, but at the same time, you have a better future and you have a better understanding of how you are going to pursue your further career or further life in here. And living in Germany is in the beginning it's difficult, but it's not extremely bad. It's I would suggest it's better than where you are now. Yeah, you have all the facilities here, better future for you and your kids, and you can then once you're finished from here, once you finish your studies from here, you can work any part of the world, which is the best point about it. And life is difficult, but it's manageable. Yeah, back to you.
That's very beautifully said, Dr. Iqbal. And just to add my 2 cents here as well, I think that if someone is really serious and really aspiring to move to Germany, similar to what Ruulaji said, do the research, do the hard work, which both Manzoor Saab, Iqbal Saab, both of you have also mentioned throughout this conversation. Put in that hard work, learn the language, do the research that you need to do, reach out to people. There's a very strong community of Kashmiris in Germany. Reach out. Some of them, esteemed one of them, are here from whom you're hearing during this session. Reach out. And when I say reach out, I do not mean like you just reach out to any one of us and be like, hi, can I get a job or get me a job? But more about, tell us about, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what you're interested in. And if you have questions about how do you navigate certain things, or tomorrow, if you want to reach out to Ruulaji, asking him about TUM versus TUB, that's Technical University of Munich versus Berlin, or maybe universities within Berlin. You want his 2 cents about how was his course, what was his journey like, you can definitely reach out. These are conversations that everyone would appreciate and would very be very interested in having as well and guiding as well. So do your homework, have your clarity on what you want, what you're interested in, and then reach out to people, and do not hesitate to reach out to people. And I'm sure there are a lot of people within Germany would be more than happy to be your mentor or be a guide for you or answer any questions that you have, be it in terms of housing or be it in terms of insurance, be it in terms of the medical industry, how to go about it. So that is my take on it. And now what I want to do is we are very close towards the end of the session. So what I see is we've already, and I would like to give a huge round of applause for my co-team from KCF here, who's been very active on the chats, and I'm trying to catch them up while I speak. You've answered most of the questions here, and I really appreciate that. I also see the panelists have been very active in the chat. Thank you for that. Let's see if we have missed any question, or if there are any questions that we can take in the next few sections or next few minutes. Okay, I see this.
Palak ji, there are two people who have raised their hands. They are waiting patiently. so we can ask them if there is a question they can ask.
Could you type your question in the chat so that we can just pick it up from there, if that's all right?
Abdul Mubin Khan, I'm allowing him to talk. Yeah, please ask the questions.
Thank you, everyone. I'm fortunately the elder brother of Dr. Iqbal Khan. I'm based in Riyadh, and I'm very so pleased and glad that you guys have put this foundation ahead. My question is it only focused for people coming to Germany? Do you have same initiatives for other country? And also one very important aspect is that how do you take care of mentorship? Because we lack in critical skills when it comes to our fraternity back home. They don't have means, and probably some of them have means, but they don't have the wherewithals of where to go. Internet is full with crap, and you need to have some focused mentorship programs for aspirants coming to Germany or anywhere else. Just wanted to know, is it German specific, or do you have a broader umbrella for other regions also? Thank you.
Thank you for joining, firstly, Mubin-ji, and thank you for the question as well. And I see Dr. Lal is excited to answer that question. And Dr. Lal, I'll hand it over to you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Khan, the elder brother. You must be proud of Iqbal Saab, and we're proud of Iqbal Saab. You raised important questions. What we have done, and a very conscious decision, we are creating chapters in different countries. What you see is the German chapter today. We're working with Amjad for a UAE GCC chapter, and I'll be very happy to include you in that. Aapne sawal pucha ki, are we doing it in other geographies what we do with Germany? In the month of September, we'll have a session on medical careers in the UK. It's going to be done collaboratively with BKMA. And mentorship ke मामले में, we have a very active program on mentorship that is led by Tanzila, who's on the screen as well. What we would appreciate is often we get parents asking कि मेरा बच्चा ये मेरा बच्चा, हम आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं बच्चे को कहो कि हमसे पूछे. बच्चा will be more intelligent about वो क्या चाहता है क्या नहीं चाहता है. You see the experts on the screen here today. These are our Kashmir Care Foundation Rolodex. These are our mentors. When we see a question or a hand raised by a 12th grader or someone who's doing undergrad wherever in the world, we'll make sure that we connect him or her with the specific individual. Going back, Kashmir mein, in collaboration with Aloha and TSPL, ThinkSight Private Limited, we are identifying 200 students from around the state. ये private school के नहीं है necessarily, ये government school के बच्चे हैं. This is an effort that will be guided internally by Sabaji and Ramiz, who are on the screen today, and in collaboration with Aloha primarily. उनको हम पहले से ही hand holding करेंगे कि क्या सवाल पूछना है, क्या नहीं करना है, क्या कब करना है. To add to that, the effort Sabaji is leading on soft skills in our children, confidence building, collaboration, ये कैसे हम accomplish करें ताकि हमारे बच्चे जो हैं एकदम strong बच्चे बन जाए. It's a long answer to your question, but Abdul Saab, you raised an important question.
And in addition to that, if I may just add another sentence, what I would tell everyone is to please follow all the social media channels of Kashmir Care Foundation to be updated about what are the next topics that are coming up. Also, do check out the website because that's where you'll find the resources. I spoke earlier in between about how we've put together, along with the panelists, a sheet which has information about the funding opportunities in Germany. That could be one source of information for you when you're trying to navigate your journey to move to Germany. We also have a book that Tanzila has found, and we've added that in our resources as well. It's a basics of German sort of a book, which gives you the kind of gist of how to learn and gives you an idea of what is the good way to go about learning German. So all in all, I would say be posted, keep following us to know what are the topics we are talking about when we have the next sessions about each of these subjects here. Do we have anyone else whose hand is still up, Suruchi? I'm unable to see it. Maybe you can. Before that, Manzoor Saab, I see. Yes, I see your hand is raised.
Just a request. If somebody has got a visa for employment, that is after doing masters or some work here, and he has not been in a position to get the job in right time after getting a employment visa here, don't go back to Kashmir. You have to work hard for that. You have to upgrade yourself. You have to learn more Germany because you have 18 months time to go do for that. You can't do anything in Kashmir. So stay here and work for your career. You upgrade yourself and learn Germany. That's what I want to say.
That's a very good point, Manzoor Saab.
Someone by the name Riz has raised his hand. I have allowed him to talk.
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead, Riz. You're still on mute, so I'm not sure if you're
He's
talking.
mute. He is on mute.
Okay, so
let's move on.
maybe. Yeah, Hula ji, I see your hand is up.
I would like to augment Manzoor Saab's answer here. Manzoor Saab said that if you don't find a job after finishing your studies here, don't give up. I saw some instances like that, but they found a very unique way. For example, people who did their masters from TUM, they ended up working in Denmark. They ended up working in Belgium. They ended up working in, I would say, other European countries. But the pathway for them was very easy because they already have masters from a European university that's renowned. So if it doesn't work out in Germany, it can work out in other neighboring European countries, I would say. A large mass population, I know even from BISCO, they went to Denmark and they're working in Denmark, Copenhagen, or other cities as engineers and civil engineers in Netherlands, I would say. And people didn't restrict themselves just to Germany, but they had that university credentials from Germany that they could then prove to the job market in other countries.
Right.
Germany could be that doorstep into opening, pathways across different countries within Europe as well. That's a good point. And Manzoor Saab, I like how you even mentioned about that 18-month additional that they get after studying. So it's not like, okay, studies are done, I don't have a job, let's pack bags and go back. That's not the case. You do get that 18-month time period to look for a job, to enhance your language, and continue the strive to kind of get something more permanent in the region, whether it's something you want to start on your own or you want to get employed. Either is definitely the option. Before we end, so I know most of the questions I see are already answered in the chat. For a few that we haven't, we'll get back to you after the sessions, after getting the answers from the experts in the panel here. And before we wrap up, I'd again like to remind everyone that on the 26th of July, we have the next session, which is on art and culture. And I would like to also thank all the panelists that we have here who took their time, who have the patience to answer each and every question in our conversation today, who patiently even answered questions on the chat. I really appreciate that. And I really thank all of you for being here and kind of sharing your perspective on the topic of moving to Germany. Lal Saab, I see that your hand is up. Yes, please.
Falak, I think Masood Saab has joined us. I want to give him 15 to 30 seconds. Masood Saab, if you can hear us, if you can come on screen and kind of describe your session, if you're still on the screen. He had dialed in a minute ago. And he may have left. So this is an important session. हम German language की बात कर रहे हैं, culture की बात कर रहे हैं. ये session July 26 को कश्मीरी culture की बात करेगा, कश्मीरी language की बात करेगा in the regional and global context. So please do dial in for this session. The session in August will be on smoking cessation. So we keep on moving our themes around based on what we see the feedback come to us. And also be on the lookout for an article that'll be published in Greater Kashmir on this session. That's an article that'll be co-drafted by Falak and Mavish, and I know Mavish is also online. So with that, I want to thank each one of you. Falak, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lal. Overall, like I mentioned, any questions that we've missed today, don't worry about them. We'll keep you posted with the answers after discussing it with our experts that we had on the panel. The recording of today's session will be on YouTube. So if at any point you wanted to refer back to what was the language school that was recommended, or what was their advice on health insurance or anything of that sort, you can definitely revisit that recording on YouTube. And besides that, all the resources that we discussed today and other additional resources will be on our website under the resources section. And with that, once again, I thank each and everyone who joined us today from the audience side, the KCF core group side, and of course, the panelists that we had here. Once again, I appreciate all your input, and thank you for being part of this session today. I wish you all a good evening, good afternoon, and a good morning, depending on wherever you are.